Okay, there we go.
Sorry, just got on.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being at the October Bronx Community Board 8 meeting. We are the only committee so far that has hybrid option, and we are very proud of it. We do have a very important topic on the agenda tonight, but first let me kind of go through the motions as far as our formal items. We only have, I see, one person from the public on Zoom. We also have two DEP representatives, Melissa Enoch and Effie Ardizon. And let me just do my quick roll call of my board members, of my committee members. Deb Travis.
Here.
Bob Fanuzzi. I see him. No, I do not see him. Okay, Rashida Hilliard. Hi, Rashida. Oh, here's Bob. Karen Argenti.
Here.
All right, and I know that Bob Spalter will be absent. He notified us. Hello, Bob Fanuzzi. Nice to see you. We were just doing the roll call.
Hi, I'm here.
Excellent. Okay, excellent. So quorum being confirmed, we only have one member of the public, but just kind of general internal organizational rules for the record. We are a committee that counts very much on committee members, obviously, and they get the first sort of priority in speaking when there's time to ask questions, etc. And then there is if there are other board members with us, then they get to ask their questions, and then questions will be open for the general public. Just in general, so that we keep a decent length of the meeting, I would ask everyone, as my committee members, to kind of keep within sort of 3 to 5 minutes if possible. And for public, I don't know, 1 to 2 minutes, also to remind our featured speakers, like not to have long answers to the early questions, because then we have to shorten it significantly for the following people online. And other than that, we have a very exciting topic tonight. So I am moving straight to our second point of the agenda, which was the approval of the minutes from our previous meeting of September 21st. They were circulated by the office on September 28th, also posted on the website. Do I please have a motion from somebody to approve the minutes posted?
I make a motion to approve the minutes, but there's just one correction that I wanted to make. I don't know if you made the correction.
You sent me you sent me something where there was supposed to be markings, but there were no markings in my, so yes. If you state your correction.
In the place where it says that that I made something, it's really Jody who made the first comment.
I see, okay.
And then the second thing is mine, but the first one is Jody.
Got it. Okay. So I will, with that correction in mind that Karen will confirm to me, people are, let's do against the minutes. I see no reaction. Abstentions? No. Thank you very much. The minutes are being approved with the correction that Karen mentioned, which I will confirm with her after. Chairperson's report is our item number 3 on the agenda. I have on 11 pages chair report, but I will just go through the main headlines. With ask to you if there are things that you would like more to ask questions to clarify or so. Just let's please address that after the presentation of DEP, or if there are items where you need the actual original material, to let me know so that I forward it to you. In reverse chronological order from today, all the way back to our September meeting, the following things took place as far as the ENS committee. On Monday, October 17, as you all know, we had the DEP Tibet's advisory group meeting. It was on Zoom, and it allowed us opportunity to ask a lot of questions. And on October 17, DSNI, the Department of Sanitation, had issued new information, and there was a mayoral press release and press conference too, where they announced that the there are new rules that will be implemented as of April of next year to reduce the amount of time that plastic bags with are being placed at curbs, both for residential properties as well as for commercial properties, with the overall purpose of reducing food sources for rats. Mind you, the current 4 p.m. set-out time for residential waste is the earliest in a major American city, they said, and leaves trash on the street for up to 14 plus hours in a given 24 hours period. On October 13, we received the report of very poor sanitation conditions on the commercial corridor on Broadway at Kimberly Place. I thank the staff at the former Land and Sea restaurant location, a property that closed, and Kira, along with the SNY, addressed. October 30th, we were announced by Dan Padernak, that there will be a festival, Boogie Down Festival Fest on River Park. It's supposed to be a borough-wide, that's why I'm announcing it, event for climate, jobs, and justice. DSNY announced for Bronx CBA that this year the leaf collection pickups will be on November 27, December 11. On October 18, Councilwoman Carmen de la Rosa, that covers Inwood as well as Marble Hill, had a town hall on sanitation where the Commissioner Tish from DSNY participated. On October 3rd, we received info from DP via EFI that their teams inspected that prior report we had over the summer on floodings at Fairfield Avenue between 231st and 232nd. The conclusion of the DP team was that, as we sort of expected, the flooding conditions were due to an overtaxed sewer system during heavy rains. We received feedbacks on our fiscal 24 budget requests, both from DSNY and from DP. I personally found the DSNY a little bit more comprehensive and descriptive than the DP one. From the DP, I want to highlight the fact that DP's goal is to replace 1% of the old cast iron water mains each year, depending on funding, of course. And in fiscal 22, 0.86 miles of water mains were replaced. And the aim for fiscal 23 is for 1.66 miles. As far as DS, and they also send me a list, but it's of course all very technical, of capital projects, and a very nice map that indicates 2 capital projects in CB8. While from DSNY, the big news is that even though the budget for fiscal 23 is slightly lower compared to fiscal 22, explicitly from 2.05 billion to 1.85 billion, reduction attributed to the reduction in federal funding. As you may remember, in previous years it was kind of pouring COVID money, but now that kind of dried up. But despite this, they are very happy to report fiscal 23 budget, including unprecedented levels of funding for cleanliness initiative. It's a big push from the mayor, of course, and they give the million amounts for litter basket service for precision cleaning initiative. This is, I feel like, especially important as in our CB because of the targeted work that addresses conditions like illegal dumping and persistent littering. So this is good, and 4.5 million for cleaning of vacant lots. In terms of 311 complaints, for technical vehicles, CB8 is way lower than all other Bronx CBs, community boards. Just to give you an example, we have the lowest number in fiscal 22 at 477, and the next highest is for towed cars, abandoned towed cars. Yeah, which I guess we kind of, I mean, we know. Yeah, I don't know, but listen, in CB9 they told, no, in CB12 1,999. So compared to our 477, you see? So just to put us a little bit in perspective, because sometimes I feel like we're missing the perspective compared to other areas of the Bronx.
All I know is that there were cars parked around the Drum Park Reservoir for months.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, in CB 11, where I know there are side streets where cars that never ever move ever. Anyway, sorry. Let me just finish this. Organics recycling, as you know, only CB8 currently participates in the department's opt-in curbside composting program in the Bronx. We are the only community board. This is great. Yes, baseline funding for food scrap drop-off sites and community composting was doubled in fiscal 23 from 3.5 million to 7 million per year. Good stuff. Oh yes, pickup of baskets. In fiscal 22, the total number of weekly basket trucks was 81 weekly basket trucks, and that number has increased to 99 weekly basket trucks in fiscal 23. So this is those baskets that we often get complaints of baskets being overflowed and spilling on the street, basically, so they will increase service. So this was in terms of the budget. Okay, I want to thank Karen and Robert for writing down the minutes from their meeting with Tishman Spire on September 10. This is the developer that is developing the 7160 Van Cortlandt Park South. And just, I want to sort of share and put in the public domain, right? Their representative was not, I'm quoting here, was not familiar with the particulars of the DEP Unified Stormwater Rules, but affirms Tishman's desire to comply with all city regulations. He referred to the HPD quality housing standards. And I went back to the budget, to the agency responses to other budget requests, but HPD is not sort of our domain, but I went back to read what they sent to the office, and some very interesting related comments, because the question was, one of the concerns that blessed me was that as a community board, we are an afterthought during the process of development. HPD encourages the developer to go before the community board, but it's only after all the financing and number of units have been agreed to with your agency regulating our input. Okay, yeah. So they say agency response, whatever, a bunch of stuff. We have excellent communication, blah, blah, blah. But the HPD also say, we do request that the development team not address the community board or its committee too early, as projects often change during the review process or may not materialize at all. We want the community to be advised of the likely details of the project, not just a vague concept. So interesting, sort of HPD is alerting us, how to say, they don't want the developers to present to us quote unquote too early. So I thought that was just like an interesting thing for you to know. There was an integrated feasibility report released by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and I will give them only a minute or two to review very, very quickly. That addresses that is the environmental impact statement for New Jersey, HAT study, harbor and tributary coastal storm risk management feasibility study. It was released September 23rd with a public comment period until January 6th. And my final point, report from our board member Constance Barnes on repeated littering conditions on Post Road is adjacent to the construction project on Broadway. She and the office referred DSNY that will send an enforcement team to develop a plan of actions, and this is all I have. I will give the floor to them for a couple of minutes just to make a little overview of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers project.
Yeah, so thank you, Camelia. So the Army Corps of Engineers has released a draft of a feasibility study on measures that they would like to take to address Sandy and flooding from Sandy. So it's part of a multi-year study that they've been doing that involves all of the East Coast. And long story short, the they have decided to pursue what they are calling alternative 3B, which is a multi-basin storm surge barriers with shore-based measures as the tentatively selected plan. What that means is that they want to build surge barriers. Kind of their focus is on the harbor area primarily, the Long Island shore, and the parts of Brooklyn. If you specifically to focus in on the Bronx is split between two areas, Area 2 and Area 3. Area 2 is essentially a good chunk of Manhattan, but the measures for Area 2 are primarily southern Manhattan and parts of the Harlem River watershed on the Manhattan side towards the South Bronx. On the Bronx side, there are it would seem like essentially a shoreline softening, which I'm sure Karen or Robert can speak to more specifically. But there's nothing in this feasibility study that addresses anything related to Long Island Sound. The feasibility study does, however, and one thing that's kind of, I think, useful about it is it does go through a long list of other measures that have been taken already since Sandy to address damage or resiliency, and that the current ongoing measures that are being studied that they're trying to coordinate their work with. And so in that case, the Bronx, as far as I could see, there was only really one piece that was which was around Hunts Point and trying to harden the water border with Hunts Point to make it so that the water essentially to create a true barrier so it can't get to the homes there. Karen, is there anything else you'd like to add to that we should know kind of high level about this?
Yeah, I think we should, I haven't had a chance to look at it, so I think we should, get back to it, and see what else, just a chance to get a look of it and see whether or not the board needs to respond.
Areas of opportunity for sure seem to be along the Deegan corridor, where their own map shows a substantial amount of flooding, but they don't list any measures taken. They do list other measures along the sawmill and multiple highways and multiple rivers. When you think of the Tibbetts Brook watershed, they highlight other programs that are working on specific things in Westchester, but not. But so it's certainly worth bringing up. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Just to add, I will give you the word call, but just to also add to this, of course, right after I asked Deb to look into it more closer, I received the Cranes New York Business, which has an article on this, and just want to kind of. They also have opinions from several environmental groups. One of which kind of caught my eye. In a statement, the Waterfront Alliance and environmental nonprofit said that it is pleased that the Army Corps has shifted away from a storm surge barrier at the mouth of New York Harbor to a quote, a more hybrid approach of green and gray infrastructure solutions, but stress that officials should take a closer look at buyouts, restoring wetlands, relocating key infrastructure, and other less intrusive solutions. So that's kind of what I wanted, but I will be happy to share it with you both. And I will give you the word, just kindly asking you to kind of to have like a short on this, because I feel like we went into this Army Corps thing, but I do want to move to the ladies from DP so that we let them go to their families as early as we can. So please go forward.
Thank you. Please forward that, Deb. I do want to invite Rashida to look at it with Karen and I and Deb offline before the next meeting. Can you just clarify, because it does represent, from what I've heard, a non-coastal flooding strategy for storms along the highway. Deb, is there a comment period that we're within now?
Yes. Until January.
Yep, we're in a comment period with this feasibility study.
All right, so I would definitely want us to come back with some kind of report, our reading on this, and then if not at the next, let's say 2 meetings. Okay, you schedule it, committee, so
Sure.
we can be assured the board could take proper action if it
Yes.
chooses. to?
January 6th is the date for some
January 6th.
meeting.
And then we would have to have a December resolution if you were gonna do something, or letters, so,
So then you have to do it earlier than that. You have to do
Yeah.
it in.
So then we have to
November.
approve it ourselves, in November. Does that,
Yeah.
Bob, would you like to sort of
yeah,
take
we'll
the
come back to you with our reading. It'll be, the committee's response to this, but thank you, Deb. It's a
Excellent.
good subject.
Okay, good. So without further ado, I invite our special speaker, Melissa. And I hope I say your name right, Melissa, correctly. She's the managing director of the Infrastructure Planning and Partnership Division of the New York City Department of Environmental Protection. Melissa, as I was mentioning to you before, we know that you did this presentation before to the Community Board 8, but we are really here inviting you again because we are sort of looking at it with a different angle now. Specifically, a new construction project that was brought to our attention only in September. It's a massive development of, I believe, 348 residential units that occupies a very large block on 160 Van Cortlandt Park South. Is immediately adjacent to the Tibbetsbrook property. And we in the land use meeting of September, many of the community board members expressed sort of question as far as the impact, not only on the sewer situation, but overall on the entire design of that block and kind of absorption capacity that this, the design of this building that really was overwhelming for us. It was not at all what we sort of anticipated, seemed to potentially pose. So Karen said, I know there may be a way for us to approach them or to explore further conversation, and the keywords being the uniform stormwater rule. So I know you have a presentation, maybe it's more general, but whatever insights you may think of mentioning as far as the planning and design phase of a construction project that we feel it would be useful for us to be informed about, please make those comments as you best see fit. And again, we thank you. And let's try to put your presentation up on the share screen on our end.
Do you want to use the presentation, Melissa, or do you just want to speak? You're muted as well. I can unmute you.
Sorry. I think it's easier for me to go through the presentation because there's so much material.
Okay.
But I'm totally happy to keep it less formal
Keep
and
it formal.
yeah.
Help us.
Does Melissa know what Karen and I shared with the developer? Because in the notes that we gave to the land use committee, Melissa, Karen and I distributed some appendices and models and pages. We actually called out some pages they should look at. So you have given the presentation before, but Camilla, I don't have it in front of me, but does the notes that we provided, does it have pages just so
That
you know where
one
to start
page
from?
table from BCQE. Is it-
From the notes that we gave you on what we said to the developer. It was.
Oh, I do not know. Yeah.
Okay,
I
all right, never mind. Well, I'll dig it up while you.
Or if we had even permission, sort of say, but I'm happy to forward to her those notes. Yeah.
We'll come back to it, Melissa. Take over.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
I'll find them right now.
Okay.
Okay, you go ahead. Thank you.
So did you want me to, are we going into the presentation, or Bob, are we gonna have?
No, go to the presentation.
No,
I'm just gonna
hold on,
find the
let her
notes.
present. Yeah.
Who's putting the presentation up?
I'm doing the presentation.
Yeah, no, we are doing 1 hour, and Melissa, is that okay,
Okay.
or do you want to control it on your end?
No, she said, okay, put it up.
Yeah, I don't have a screen share ability.
Okay, no problem. We'll do it from our end. Just tell us when to move to the next slide, and we'll do it.
Sure.
What happened?
No, from the square there, make it like big, the window.
Here?
No, right. No, there, exactly. Are you guys seeing the screen?
Yes, that's better. Okay,
Very good. Just tell us next, and we'll move Melissa at your pace.
okay.
There you go. Is that good?
Yeah, let's start here on the New York City sewer drainage areas map. So I know that this is not new info for you all, but it's important to set the stage for how the stormwater regulations in New York City worked prior to February of this year, and then how they are working now. And so, 60% of New York City is served by combined sewers. Bronx is predominantly combined sewer, as you're aware. And the other half of the city, or the other 40%, is either separately sewered, and some is even direct, has a direct discharge into the receiving water body. So we at DEP have had different regulatory objectives. And so you can switch to the next slide, but the combined sewer areas of the city have, we've done a lot of work over the past 2 decades to develop and implement our long-term control plans for water quality improvements. And, that is predominantly made up of projects to help us reduce our combined sewer overflow into the New York City waterways as part of our regulatory agreement with DEC. And then in the MS4 areas, we, which is referring to the separately sewered areas, we received our first MS4 permit in 2015. And at that point in time, the permit had several provisions that help cities create programs and plans to put into place to improve water quality in areas where separate storm sewers direct the stormwater out into a water body. And so one of the provisions of that permit was to develop a new stormwater construction permitting program for the city. And so prior to February of 2022, this year, this is what our regulations looked like. In the separately sewered areas, we had a stormwater construction permit that launched in 2019. It only applied to redevelopment and new development sites that disturbed 1 acre or more of soil. And it required some stormwater controls during construction activity, and then post-construction requirements to manage a 1.5 inch rainfall event. And so oftentimes you'll hear us talk about those as the Chapter 19.1 water quality requirements, because that's where those rules that we needed to create that program in 2019 live in the City of New York rules and regulations. So the guiding manual for projects to comply with that stormwater construction permit is shown on the right, and it was called the New York City Stormwater Design Manual, and pretty much just had information on how to submit a permit, typical BMPs you might see, how they can help, how you might maintain those BMPs, and also some guidance for doing erosion and sediment control during construction projects to keep your construction site clean and not having, stormwater runoff polluting the storm system. So then on the last half of this slide refers to another permitting program we have at DEP, which has been in place since the 80s, late 80s, I think, and is really about controlling the flow of stormwater released from a site where a development project makes a connection to the city sewer system. And so this is a pretty typical permitting program that's been in cities predominantly developed, even suburban type communities have some flow rate control for stormwater into their sewer system. But basically at DEP, we had some requirements in place that were updated in 2012 for the combined sewer system. And that 2012 amendment was done at the same time we launched our green infrastructure program. And we tightened up the flow rate requirements in the combined sewer areas only to help control peak flow into the city sewer system. And by reducing peak flow, we had the overall goal of reducing combined sewer overflows. And you will hear us talk about this program. Well, it is called the Site and House Connection Proposal Program. And those rules and regulations live in Chapter 31 of DEP's rules. And you hear us talk about that as the stormwater quantity and flow rate requirements. So then, yeah, the manual on the right is the guidelines that was in place, you know, for those projects.
Should we move to the next?
Yes.
That's a long slide.
So fast forward to February, we did a comprehensive overhaul of both Chapter 19.1 and Chapter 31. And this took us about 2.5 years. Actually, we started, you know, almost 3 years to develop. Oh, wait, actually, we started in 2018. Sorry, the pandemic like ruined my sense of time. I can't remember what happened in 2019 and 2020, but basically almost 4 years to develop and implement these rules. And part of that was we were asking for a lot, you know, of the development community, and we needed to make sure that we could demonstrate how a project in any borough, in any constrained lot, could implement these rules. And we worked with our sister bureau, the Bureau of Water and Sewer Operations, who manages the site and house connection proposals. And it was interesting because they were actually looking to update their rules as well. So we came together and worked really hard to accomplish all of our goals. You know, in BEPA, we have like, we hold the water quality objectives, and we were kind of like the compliant, you know, the CSO order and the MS4 permit compliance group for green infrastructure. And we knew we wanted more green infrastructure. And then water and sewer operations, they're trying to keep our sewers functioning and safe, and, you know, neighborhoods from being flooded and properties from getting flooded. And so they had their operational goals. So we came together, we worked with a good consulting team, and we just started throwing all of our ideas together on whiteboards. And we then started engineering out some of these technical assumptions we were making to land on the rules that we ultimately implemented. And so there's a lot of text on this slide, but basically we expanded the stormwater construction permit, which only applied to MS4 permits or to MS4 sites, to also cover combined sewer sites. We dropped the land disturbance threshold from 1 acre down to 20,000 square feet or more of soil. We also added a brand new trigger, which is 5,000 square feet or more of new impervious area. We kept the stormwater management of 1.5 inches, but we shifted it to manage it however you can to retain it first using green infrastructure. And we also added requirements for right-of-way projects. So projects that private utilities, public utilities, DOT, anybody is doing the right-of-way now also have to comply, you know, with some of these regs. And so then for the site connection proposal, we decided we care about separately sewered area projects as much as we care about combined sewer area projects. We increase the amount of volume that every single property has to maintain in the city that requires a site connection proposal. And this is big because it's more than that 1.5 inches. It's between 1.5 and 1.85 inches. And it's about, in most scenarios, it's closer to like a 10-year, 6-hour event. And so it's quite a bit of volume. And not only did we increase the volume, but then we tightened up the release rate. So we said you have to hold more stormwater and you have to hold it for longer on your property. And that is extremely effective for CSO reduction. This is these new release rates and design volumes were identified through some of our green infrastructure modeling when we looked at those 2012 projects and said, okay, they're not really holding stormwater back long enough to allow the system to operate efficiently during a discharge event or during a precipitation event. And so we really took the time to modify those. And again, it's quite a bit more volume. One of the things we did to make it a little easier for the development community, because we knew people were going to come in and say, we can't build tanks this big enough. We changed the minimum orifice size from 2 inches down to 1 inch. So if you have a smaller orifice, you can go deeper and ultimately end up with a smaller tank. And so we held several workshops with a lot of plumbing groups and private, the related and their sort of technical consultants and the builders associations, and we landed where we did. And then before we move on, the last thing I'll mention is we found a way in our stormwater manual, that's the new cover on the right, to provide credit, or I don't want to say a credit, but we have clear guidance now for how you can accomplish both goals with the same stormwater management practice, or at a minimum, reduce the size of your detention tank if you're implementing green infrastructure. And that's something people have been asking us for a long time.
Melissa, just to say, you have a lot of, you have amazing slides here that staff printed for me. So I kind of just want to make sure that everybody sees them, because we have new board members that didn't see the previous presentation. So can we move to the next? And if there are slides you feel like skipping, please do, but by no means omit any detail you wanna you wanna highlight. Can we go to the next?
Yes.
Anything?
Yeah, this is a high level slide. We're projecting citywide benefits for implementation of the unified stormwater rule, over 360 million gallons of CSO volume reduced by 2030, 10,515 tons of total suspended solids removed after 30 years of implementation. Those are kind of our citywide stormwater management goals.
Can I move to the next one, which is,
Yeah, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this slide because it doesn't make a ton of sense, or yeah, but basically the point of this slide and the one before it, there are some sites that you may see in construction today that don't need our permit. And so this slide you might want to study if they had already submitted to DOB before February 15th, then they didn't need to come back to us. If they had an MS coverage under the state general permit before 2019, they didn't need to come to us. And then this is the same for chapter 31. There are a few, if they had a sewer certification that was issued prior to the effective date of the unified stormwater rule, then the unified stormwater rule didn't apply. And so that was just the quick info on that.
okay.
All right. Anything else?
So, yeah, I mean, do you want me to spend a little bit of time on the manual, or did you?
No, because I think that's something for developers to use intensively.
No, but I like the slide. I like the slide on the who goes in what direction. I
Yeah,
don't know.
but I have more slides in my deck here. We are just at slide 9 out of 18. So
Bob's got a question.
I know, but
I wanted to wait for Melissa to finish.
thank you, Bob. Thank you, Melissa. Let's just, because I am not sure sort of what you want to highlight on, and I'm a bit overwhelmed seeing 18 slides, and we're at 10 now. Anything?
We can skip this one.
Okay, thank you.
We can skip the hierarchies.
Thank you.
You sure?
Yeah, I don't, I'm trying to think of what, I'm
This
not
one's a
sure
good
what
one.
you want to hear.
Melissa, I like this one, the CSA hierarchy area.
That is Jolly Colon that interrupts us. She's a highly esteemed member of the environmental community in Riverdale. So I think give her something of relevance from this slide that you feel like would apply to new development.
I'll do that.
This is the fourth time I've seen it, but this slide I've been used, it makes sense. It makes sense to explain, you know, like it's really a very clear slide about the options.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what we need to know for the developers. is
Just
these
let me
are your
say, let's give Melissa time though to go through everything, and then all of us will ask all our questions, please.
All right, so we developed two hierarchies to allow developers to select the stormwater management practices that they need to use to meet our rules. And so we have one for the separately sewered area, and that is the blue one. And we have one for the combined sewer area, and that is the green one. They are nearly identical in that they both have primary goals of retention first, and then secondary goals of vegetation. The only difference is the bottom tier is slightly different between separately sewered areas and combined sewer areas. And that's because our goals are slightly different in separate and combined sewer systems. So the way you read this is the darker the box, the higher the tier, and you read it left to right, top to bottom. So the top vegetated retention box is the box that contains the first set of practices that a developer must evaluate for their site in order to meet our regulations. And so if you know, I have a site and I have you know, and I'm in the separately sewered area, then I need to choose a rain garden, stormwater planter, a green roof. Any of these practices meet that goal of retention and vegetation as well.
Okay.
And we have in our manual, we have a really great checklist that, you know, because sometimes people can't implement these, right? If you have groundwater, you know, 2 feet below your lot, then you're not going to be able, well, one, you're probably not putting a lot there anyway, but you probably can't build a rain garden to infiltrate stormwater. So there's a checklist that allows a developer to go constraint by constraint and see if they're allowed to use that as justification for not implementing the practice. And so I mentioned that there's a slight difference between separate and combined areas. It's the bottom box, the bottom box on the right. You will see in the MS4 areas, non-vegetated treatment is the final tier. And by treatment, we mean a practice that non-vegetated is something like porous pavement, where you still have some soil or gravel that stormwater is going to go through and get treated before it goes back into a sewer system. And then in the combined sewer, the bottom, yeah, the bottom one is non-vegetated detention. And the classic example is just a subsurface detention tank with no vegetation. So it's allowed if you're very constrained and you can't do anything else, you can't do a vegetated retention practice, but it's our least preferred SMP. And then water reuse is in the orange box out to the side. We value water reuse because it's an important tool, you know, to decreasing dependence on the city's water, potable water supply. And it is a retention practice in that it completely removes that stormwater from the sewer system. And so it's also a good tool. So we kind of put it out here on the side. We know it's not vegetated, but we're encouraging people to use it at any time.
Okay, can we move to the next?
Yep.
Anything here?
No, I mean, these are things you can just look at on your own. It explains what we mean. It kind of takes the hierarchy down to another level, and it says, what do you mean by evapotranspiration? What do you mean by detention?
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
put pictures of each practice on the side.
Okay. Okay.
This is my last slide, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, there's one more after this. There's two.
Okay. Yeah.
No, that's just
That's just helpful links. And then the last one is just a question slide.
awesome. Melissa, thank you. I will just ask 2 questions on my end, after which I will give to Robert. I know there will be a million other questions. Kindly raise your hand so that we can see kind of the order and calibrate our times. So Melissa, I only have 2 questions. My main one is, how to say, we have limited information about this specific project. What we know, we don't have very detailed zoning information. What we know is that it will be as of right, whatever that means from the point of view of this regulation. And we also know that it was purchased probably sometimes end of July. I thought we even had a day, maybe August. Anyways, so this, my question being, from what it sounds like, does it look like this rule applies to it, or it was sort of grandfathered in under the previous rule, given the dates? Because this was passed in February, right? Like it entered into force, so to say, in February. And my question number 2 is if you can explain a little bit as of, I wouldn't call it the enforcement side, because it does feel like kind of DEP has a semi-collaborative process with the developer where there are like rounds of back and forth maybe, or maybe DOB is involved. Like, I don't know exactly how that works in terms of securing compliance with this rule to the projects it applies to. These are my 2 questions.
I don't know anything about the project that you're asking about, and I apologize. So I can't answer whether or not they should be complying with the rule. I would say, zoning doesn't have anything to do with our rule.
Okay.
There is no waiver for the unified stormwater rule. At a minimum, zoning can get in the way of what practice they implement. Right? So if they have a parking lot and they're required to have 8 spaces per zoning, and they can only fit 8 spaces and therefore there's no room to put a rain garden, that can be a constraint that can be documented, and they can move down the hierarchy, but they still have to do a subsurface storage system.
Okay.
So there is no waiver from the rule. Everybody has to apply unless they had some level of permission already before they, like if they already went to DOB before the unified stormwater rule went into effect, then they didn't need to come back to us.
Mm-hmm. We believe they didn't go to DOB. We believe this is fresh and applicable.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then your last question about enforcement, we have a very small team, I will admit. We are ramping up. The pandemic didn't help with, our sort of ramping up of this program to hire permit and inspection staff. But it's something that we're doing, and we are also registering a support contract. We just selected the consultant actually this week, and we're going into negotiations. So that should be registered next spring. And, or, maybe, March, maybe, I hope. And that contract will be used to supplement our work. And so we have staff that we're building up the team that's doing the permit reviews, doing the inspections. And now we're going to have a contract. It's about $6.5 million to supplement the work. And that is going to be really important for us to get out there and try to identify projects that are not in compliance.
Excellent. And when you say, I'm passing it to you, Bob, in a second. When you say support contract, you mean like a team, an independent team that you basically subcontract to work with those developers, essentially assisting them in complying, correct?
Not really.
No?
It's support. It's support as in for us. We're going to use it to develop. We're going to use it to develop like workshops, training materials, modules. We have the ability to send out inspectors through that contract. We can, and we can use it, we have questions from parks every now and then, if we can evaluate a new idea they have, or can we create a calculator for them? It's going to be that kind of a thing. We're not really using it to help developers, but we're using it to help educate developers through workshops and through training materials, things that you can use, to hand out yourself.
Okay, yeah. Bob, and then I know Karen has a list, so it's Bob. Bob, please take over.
I have 3 points I want to bring up that I hope will help us manage expectations. So I just wanted to say that Karen and I shared the stormwater manual and the appendices with the representative of this particular developer. And this is kind of like our first real new development under these rules. As you know, it's in a floodplain. As you know, it's in a area contiguous to Tibbetts. So we did stress the vulnerability of the site and the contribution to runoff. So I am looking over my, I spent a lot of time, everybody, making minutes of this in January of 2022. So this is summarized in our ENS minutes of January 2022. And there I read, Melissa, just check me if I'm wrong, that unified stormwater rules are not intended to have a dynamic relationship to lot coverage and size. So one of the things that we all want to do and kick our heels over is, oh, unified stormwater rules, there's going to be more green space, more open space, and less lot coverage, smaller FAR. So maybe they would need to go higher rather than lower. So, but I'm reading my own minutes, and it says that there is no direct relationship between lot coverage. And in fact, so I want to know if that's correct or not. Secondly, I did want to tell you that the developer is coming in with detention, okay? And so that's really the lower level so it's possible that we won't see a demonstrably different looking building than is currently created. It'll just have more underground features. And I think I had one more point, but those are my observations. We did show the appendix. It looks like in the lot coverage, those are exercises. Am I correct in the appendices? They are exercises, demonstration projects. If you have this lot coverage size, then you will need this sewer connection. So you're not stipulating actually lot coverage in any of the appendices. You're making water management regulations.
Yeah, we don't have anything on lot coverage in ours. Lot coverage is handled by zoning.
Yeah, right. Okay, so really important,
Yeah.
everybody, and I really need to stress that. So this particular developer does have resources. We do want them to take the higher level than detention. We said that. It should be a green building. It's right next to the greenway. It is in a fragile area, but those are my observations, listening to this, reading the old minutes, and seeing what we've seen, that we could have a building that looks exactly like before the unified stormwater rules, but the new action, the new benefit would be taking place underground. Is that fair?
Only in combined sewer areas.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
combined sewer areas, you are allowed to do, I mean, I guess you could see it maybe in separately sewered, but in combined sewer area, yeah, you could see a project that is simply doing a larger tank that holds stormwater longer than it used to.
Okay.
They would have had to demonstrate that they have no space at the ground level. So it sounds like you're saying it's a lot line to lot line building?
Pretty much. There's a school there with an open space, but it could be on a parking lot. And we're obviously agitating for more open space for the kids. And this is a CSO area, by the way.
Yeah, if it's lot line to lot line, which they're allowed to do, zoning allows them to build a lot line to lot line building.
Right.
So we can't, there's nothing we can't contradict that.
Okay.
So if it's a lot line to lot line building, they have to have evaluated a green roof. Did they evaluate the green roof?
Yeah, they don't want it.
Not yet.
Well, they may not want it, but do they have a roof that has the opportunity for a green?
Yes.
Sure. Melissa, they came back and said, we're taking care of our water with detention. That's what they said.
Right.
So
is
would it
that
drive-
something that is that sufficient in and of itself for this particular?
No, they would have to demonstrate why they can't implement a green roof if they're triggering the rule, which I don't, and it sounds like
Okay,
you,
cool.
yeah.
Cool,
Thank you.
okay.
That's excellent. Thank you for
Thank you.
those questions. Thank you.
Bob, are you good? May I move to Karen?
I'm putting my hand down. Go ahead.
Thank you. Karen,
Okay, so how are they gonna do detention if we have that high rock level?
They'll put it in their basement.
Yeah, I know, but then, okay. So
It's
Well,
required, it's mandatory. They have to do it. They'll dedicate, what happens in Manhattan and the Bronx all the time is that they're dedicating significant portions of their basement or even a first level, or they're moving it up somewhere else in the building and they're using pumps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have you-
it's required.
Can it be on a
Okay.
roof? Can you do detention on a roof?
Yeah,
You
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
It's costly, but so is dedicating an entire basement.
Karen?
So my question concerns, how does the process work on your side? And is any of it going to be transparent to us in the community or the community board? And I don't know if you're familiar, but the buildings department, we can go online, we can see who filed things. We can see a certain amount of detail about when they do things and if there's a violation. And are we gonna be like still in that same kind of a, I mean, you don't have to answer it now. Maybe you guys haven't figured it out. And then the other thing is that I think there's a building, I don't know, I wrote the address down. That's in construction now, but we don't know when it started. The one on Riverdale Avenue, 3745 or something. And maybe, you know, we'd like to know what they're doing in terms of it.
Yeah,
Trying
the
to
one
get-
from Salvatore Pizza, yeah.
All right.
Oh,
What
that's
is
a question, but didn't that start though before, Karen? Didn't it start before this February?
So, you know, you can't really tell when, because the shovel goes in the ground, they could have finished it before then. They had all their approvals in, you know?
Yeah.
Also, you
Any
make a point
projects that you could, yeah, any projects that you could share like with us as a sample of how's it going? And what we could see from a transparency point of view?
Well, I mean, we are required to report these out in our MS4 or in our stormwater, you know, our annual, what do we call that? Sorry, the stormwater management plan annual report.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to recall what the level of detail will be. It's pretty basic. It's like X many permits received or X many applications received, X many permits approved. And I think we report out on violations. We don't give specifics on properties. And I don't think that would be manageable. I mean, we have like hundreds of applications in.
Well, the buildings department does have the same hundreds of applications and they do it.
Yeah, they have a very different, you know, kind of
And you're on there as like a plumbing thing. I can't remember what the number is. I mean,
yeah, the site connections should be available, right? I think. I don't know. I'd have to check.
it would really be helpful to us if it was transparent. We can help you with we could be your eyes and ears. And, you know, this is like something that it's a computer program stuff. It's not really, you're going to throw all your stuff into a computer program anyhow. You just don't put everything up. Like if we really wanted to get into the details of a buildings department project, we have to go to the buildings department and ask for it. But at least there would be, oh, this is when they started it. This is the name of the contractor. This is the violations that they got. Somebody went there and looked at it. You know, I mean, how are we going to know what's going on?
Yeah, I'll check and see what the you know, because we have our online map. I don't want to Google things while I'm meeting.
But Melissa, if you could get back to us on this question, because I think it's a matter of transparency basically and the level of information to, even if it's to inform the community and to learn more about the project, because frankly, how to say, this will be a work in progress to an extent, developing good practices, right? Like maybe this building would be, you know, not a good practice or a medium or a high level standard. So we kind of need to understand because there will be more construction in our area, and we kind of need to see what's a good standard to follow.
Definitely.
Thank you. Okay, if no other board committee member has their hand up, okay, Deb.
I just wanted to, this is all great for new builds. Are you working on retrofits or, you know, I think there's two big issues here in the Bronx. One is that, particularly with older buildings, we have parking lots lots of them, and we pave them, you know, you have to repave a parking lot every 5 to 10 years. And that and we have very high groundwater and, you know, and stone. And so is that on your radar in terms of coming up with stormwater management rules to assist co-ops and residential buildings and commercial buildings? You know, we already are under a lot of pressure to for local law 87, local law 97 to do other kind of energy carbon footprint stuff. Where are you with water management and particularly around like parking lots and things like that?
We do not have current plans for retrofit regulations. We are, you know, very much focused on getting the resources we need to keep the new development regulations moving and enforced and permits approved. And on the retrofit side, right now we only offer financial incentives.
Right.
Okay.
And the financial incentives all have liens attached to them, correct?
No, we have one capitally funded it's called the Green Infrastructure Grant Program, and it has capital funding as its source, and it requires a restrictive covenant. And then we have our new Resilient NYC Partners contract. We just announced our first project. It's a different funding source. It has a maintenance and inspection agreement that's 5 years. It doesn't have a restrictive covenant. It's a different type of funding mechanism.
Right. Oh, okay, cool.
Can we move to Jody? Jody,
Yeah.
yes.
Hi,
Go.
good, thanks. So I just want to go back to something that Karen said. So some things we can see on DOB in regard to DEP. You know, we can see their asbestos filings. We could see some of the things from DEP. But you mentioned about the February 15th was the sewer certification. Where can we see those? Like, are those available?
I think they are available now, or they're on open data, but I have to come back to you.
All right,
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say before I go trolling in open data. Because it seems that if there's any kind of online form, it gets dumped into open data. So
Yeah.
and you can search by agency, right?
Yep.
All right. Because, for instance, the building next door to me, which is built, they were putting retention tanks on the roof. Now they put them in the backyard and they can't dig because we've got rock. And so they put them just right on the street, and now we're building a wall around it. So that was quite a surprise, but there's no place for me to look to see where did they get the approval to move it.
Yeah. I think it's, I definitely want to check and look into this for you all.
Because
Thank
part of the issue is like, where the eyes and ears for you. So you don't have inspectors that can go around and see if people are doing what they're supposed to. So anything, like even with our special natural area district, if we don't know the regulations, we can't say, hey, this is a violation, and put a 311 to get an inspector out. So any tips that you can give us for how to find things and know what's going on so we can report them, so that your enforcement is coming to like really targeted things and there's fines for them.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah.
And I hope you like having Dan Reynolds over there. You know?
Yes. Oh, I was like, Dan, yes, Dan's awesome.
Yes, we co-lead a parks group together. I'm going to have him planting 1,000 bulbs with me on Saturday.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'm
Yeah.
doing 1,000 on Sunday.
On Saturday too, part of the season.
Okay, Jody, is there anything else, or if there's any other question from anybody else right here, please raise your hand or let us know.
Nope,
That's
just thank you, Melissa. It's always, I always see new stuff every time I see those slides.
Melissa, we really, really appreciate it. We kept you longer than we thought, but as you can tell, we are fairly sort of motivated to keep learning actually. And we are quite excited actually that we have this new building going up. We are also fairly concerned. So that's why we wanna learn from you. So any information that comes your way and then you feel it's relevant for us to know as community board, by all means, please send it our way. We will have a little conversation now after we wish you good night about kind of more information to provide from our end to you. And then I guess we'll take it from there. Huge thanks again to you and Effie. Thanks for being here with us for moral support as always.
Thank you, Melissa. Melissa is always available for us. She doesn't do presentations twice a year for every community board. I'll tell you that.
Go, man.
You know, she's very busy, so I appreciate Melissa coming on tonight. Just something for the community board. You know, when presentations are requested, if you do have specific locations or specific requests about a building or something, please let me know, because I could have shared that with Melissa, and Melissa maybe could have had something that she could offer a status on this building. But if we don't know about it, we're just thinking the general presentation. So please don't forget for upcoming, because I'm on here every month. If you have specific locations, specific requests, always send them to us so we can also be better prepared.
Yes, we duly noted, and we will have a little conversation among ourselves right now about some procedural things around this Effie. But thank you for opening it up. Maybe you will. I hope you're not regret opening it up. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Thank you.
Okay, so just I want to really quick follow up just from sort of my point of view on some of this final thing that Effie said. So one, Robert, to answer your question, I didn't know if I would be allowed to share those meeting notes directly, and you know how I have to go through the office, and then if the office would send it to their liaison, which is Effie, and then Effie would send it to Melissa. I didn't know if that is considered somehow confidential or it's for public consumption, so to say, or distribution. So that's one thing. And the second thing I want to share with you all, that I asked the office twice or three times to send me the PowerPoint presentation of Tishman Spears after the one that they did in their September meeting. And the office, I mean, Kira, I sympathize with her. She said she asked them twice or three times and she didn't get it. It's ridiculous to me. I'm asking for the recording and I'm doing screenshots of my phone to obtain slides because they did not want to send it. You understand? So I would be very happy to send it to them if I would get it myself. Like otherwise, what I did is going through my phone, taking screenshots as he was speaking. It's ridiculous going through a 2-hour recording. So, but if you are all of the belief that we should forward these materials to them, I would be happy to ask the office to do it.
Now, yeah, if you want, I can request the presentation.
No,
Because
under
the open meetings law, any work that the community board does, the public is entitled to it. So
yeah,
do you
but
want me to?
the office did not receive it from the Tishman people.
Yeah,
Oh,
right, that's what
oh.
I'm thinking,
The
right.
office did not receive it. The
It's not
Tishman
the
people
community
didn't want to
board's
get
Yeah,
it.
they didn't give us a presentation either, and we didn't do the Zoom. Like if I did the Zoom, it would have been different.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Hey, Camille, I think it's what you were reading before, that they kept mentioning the standards of quality housing, and it felt like to me they were really not ready and not showing yet. And what
exactly.
we saw at that meeting was so preliminary. It wasn't even worth distributing at this point.
Correct, exactly.
So I think that's part of the problem from their side.
Yeah.
It's so preliminary. I wouldn't even know what if DEP could even see anything.
Correct.
We were just encouraging them to reach out because, like I said, they kept citing quality housing standards. But we said, well, do you know about this? Do you know about this? Do you know about this? We said,
And
contact
we just
DEP.
wanted to I just wanted to make sure that they knew about it. And later on, when they say, well, we didn't know about it, well, like, they can't say that to us anymore, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to
So
say
we
thanks
kinda-
again to both of you. I'm sorry, Robert, to both you
No,
and
please.
Karen for, you know, I mean, for writing that level of detailed minutes, because you see how it is, we all read different documents and all of a sudden things kind of find a connection point, like this HPD thing that they gave to the office, you know, that, oh, we don't even advise them to present to community boards, and the community boards say, oh, we were not informed. Yeah, because they don't know.
I think that's out of that's really wrong of HPD to tell that to people, because we would want to see it as early as possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Amelia, that
because
is an amazing find.
Thank you.
but we're not the housing committee, so we can't do anything about it, but maybe you guys
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
refer it to the housing committee and say, this doesn't look right.
Make
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah. Dear people, unless you give me marching orders on anything else, I would kind of just like to move on from this. I
Sure.
think it's kind of more food for thought, sort of say. I think it was worthwhile having this little conversation with them, because for them it's also valuable to see, okay, so what would the community board want to know, right? So they kind of heard our questions and they didn't have answers for several of them. Anything else that you want to ask or? Sorry,
That's why,
Yeah.
are they, so they're looking at tier 2 measures, is that basically, or they didn't know anything at all yet? They don't have any, you were saying they were looking at retention,
detention.
like,
Only detention, only detention. That's all that was like their answer to everything. I don't even know if they knew it was a tier.
right,
I just know that was their default.
Because that's probably also the cheapest, so it's, you know, gotta make the
Right.
maximum profit on it.
well, they don't, they're going to lot line, so.
Correct, yeah.
And it's
Wait,
not,
but
it's really not, it's like the least preferred out of the whole thing.
Wait,
Retention
but doesn't
help.
quality housing require green space?
I just looked it up and it does not, for an
Jody, I
R7.
don't know.
Maybe
Yeah.
a couple of trees, that's all, yeah.
I
The
thought it
R7
required, I thought
is-
it required buffers and.
It says it's supposed to be similar to the East Village, where it has like a little tiny bit in the front. But it's essentially lot line to lot line,
And it has height restrictions.
has height restrictions, you get more lot with lower buildings.
Okay,
That was the silly thing of that, you know?
yeah,
And
Yeah,
I didn't ask her the question about the porous pavement, but they're actually using porous pavement, but it's also gonna be their parking lot.
I thought they don't have a garage.
they have only for
I-
61 cars, I think. I have the number because I have the slide.
I really
67.
wanted to get out that we need to manage expectations for this.
Exactly,
As
exactly.
much as we want this to be green and open, we have to understand what stormwater rules actually require.
True.
Right.
Yeah,
But it was good though that that it was a good reminder that they're gonna have to justify moving up a tier or 2 tiers. But they're gonna be, the expectation is that they do tier 1, or they have to complete the spreadsheet that says this is why we can't do tier 1. I mean, the green roof thing, I don't know if doing solar, for example, or I think they have a playground on the school roof. I assume they're gonna wanna have a roof deck on the building, the primary building, the residential building, but maybe not, maybe they want solar. And I think that might also get them out of the green roof mitigation, you know?
Well, solar
And the
doesn't
new zo-
want
and the
it.
new zoning for solar.
but
What?
how does solar absorb water? I mean, may give them a couple of points, but.
No,
what did you
but
say?
I said, and the mayor's new text amendments are going to allow solar to cover the entire roof.
Right,
But can you
So
have?
there's less roof for green roof.
No,
what?
There's
Say that
less roof for green roof.
Right,
Yeah.
well, and the thing that she mentioned, the green roof program that doesn't require the covenant, does require the majority of the roof to be covered. So you can't really even do like a mix of, like, you know, like, for example, like if you have a building that's like a cross, one of those crosses is gonna be on the north side. So you're not gonna put solar there, but there's no incentive to put green there either, because you're not getting the percentage that you need in order to get the funding. So it's like, it really is an all or nothing the way it's currently structured. Which is interesting.
yeah. Anyway, what's clear is that, how to say, the regulation is that they really like churned it, right? Like they really struggled to put it together. It seems very ambitious, but I also felt like it doesn't, like they are not quite sure about the methodology in terms of what will be transparent, what will be enforceable, how they will work with it. They are planning this contract to support contract, as you call it. Anyway, so it's a thing at the beginning. I honestly, I don't think we will catch.
And they're not focused on transparency. And they're not focused on transparency.
No, they're not at all, not at all, yeah. But anyways, guys, I'm sorry, but I don't want to kind of move to the next thing because we spent sort of an hour probably on this, so if that's okay. But obviously, if anybody has any new ideas or info, do share. And I'm asking you to please help me craft, well, all business, new business, to please help me craft the agenda of the November meeting. The things that came up during the month, as well as what Karen mentioned at the previous meeting, are the following, and I'm listing them just in a sort of random list. I do feel like we need to invite DSNY, which is our other agency, because so far we asked DEP twice. And Karen mentioned the snow thing, and I also want them to mention the new compost collection mechanism and routine. So that would be a full DSNY, which I don't think any of you would sort of object to. But then
unified stormwater rule, we need to come up with something for the public for the Army Corps of Engineers. We need to
hold on, let me let me just list the things and then you guys ask.
All right.
Okay, so this was my item 1 on the list. So DSN1 for sure. Sedgwick project. Karen, how did you call it? The shed or the, I don't know what you sent me like from
the Grove.
The Grove. I kind of said that let's make it a focus of November, but now I'm not sure if it's a focus or it's one of 5 things. So it's that. I received a request from Call, this group that was doing kind of art activations around projects. And of course, the tag was convened now, so they want to kind of do a little presentation to us. I can limit her to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever we need to, or you can just advise me to postpone it. I'm just putting it out there. And finally,
what does she want to present? What does she want
to present something? So it's your call whether we invite. That's why we are crafting the agenda, Karen. Let me just finish this. And then finally, this Army Corps of Engineers, where we would need to prepare the committee response, I guess, in the shape of a resolution, even if it has only main points. But if you want that resolution to be passed by full board, then we need to have it approved at our November so that it goes to full board December so that it's submitted before January. So these are the items that I have. Please give me input as to what you want for November. Sanitation is fixed, sorry.
Yeah,
right?
that's done, Camila. We back in 2015, we created 14 actually. We created a water committee to do like heavy duty research, and I believe it still exists. And so Karen, I, and Laura at the time were the water committee.
Oh no, it's not called a committee. It's called a
working group, water working group, right?
Yeah.
So I want to invite Rashida to join, and anyone here. And what we do is kind of research on what's happening with stormwater and water management in our area, water quality. We also find out what's happening on the outside the community board and bring that information to this committee. But this would be a perfect, Camille, I want to know first, you want to keep the water working group alive. And you want this report, because the water work is a perfect report for the water.
Yeah, correct.
To do. Okay.
True. Yeah, Robert, the only thing I would ask is if you would be sort of the formal work group, I don't want to call you leader, I don't know how you coordinator or whatever, so that you come back to the committee with like a proposal already in the shape of a document.
Well, it's weird for
Or
me.
how do you want to do it?
When I was chair of the committee, Karen was always water working group. Can we be co-chair, Karen and I?
Karen, do you want to do this?
Sure. I'll give you an action plan, but we'll work on the Army Corps and we'll come in with a report.
Yes, Karen, my only request again, come with a document so that
You don't have to worry about that. We always come prepared with documents. Anywhere we
do
show
we
up.
have to write a letter? What's the end product? Does anybody have any?
I mean, from my point of view, I would go with
comment period.
so it would be something that would be in the shape of a resolution that would be approved by the community board so that we have authority to submit it.
Okay,
You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
it's your call, Camila, whatever you want.
Yeah, but whatever works for the working group, obviously, too. So Karen, just come back to me with something in writing. That's not 12
And who
pages.
wants to
That's
be
more
on the
like-
committee? Bob, and,
So far, we have Bob, Rashida. Let's leave.
Not for you,
no,
Rashida?
no? We can't
Rashida,
hear-
don't be intimidated. Speak up.
I'm not intimidated at all. I just want to know, I mean, I had my hand up for something else. I'm not intimidated. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm joining or doing. That's all. But
Okay.
I did have a
just want to
question.
make sure you're always welcome, any issue, Rashida, just want to make sure.
No, I'm not intimidated though.
Yeah.
Karen, I think it's between you and Bob. If, however you want to structure or organize your work, I'm of course super happy to have Laura always accompanying you. I don't know if she sort of wants to, but she's absolutely welcome.
I can be on the water working group too.
Yay, Deb. That's
All
good.
right.
I wasn't sure if I was invited, but I can go.
All right,
Okay,
and we'll
So,
report
Deb?
before the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then
We'll have a full-
we postpone the Grove, Karen, okay? Because we already
Yeah,
have.
postpone that. We don't
Okay.
have we're not in rush on that. But the
And-
sanitation, snow removal is really important.
Yes, got it. Okay, so
Have a
it's-
choice. It's the snow
And-
removal and then composting.
Yes,
Because
very
snow
good.
Wait,
removal
no,
is
wait.
coming.
Hold on,
Wait,
hold
wait,
on, 1 second.
um,
1 second, Jody, no, let me, please. So, board members, committee members first, so I will pass it on to Rashida, which has her hand up.
Hi. I just, I was just writing down what was mentioned for November 1st, and I have here DSNY compost collection Sedgwick project, Grove, committee response and waterworks group. So that's what I have written down.
Mhm.
But I just wanted to know, because I guess those are separate items in terms of like the DSNY.
Mhm.
Are we going to have questions prepared for them beforehand? Like, can we ask those things now, or are we just
If you want
expect?
to, you're absolutely welcome. I would be happy to convey to them in
That's a really
advance.
good
Yes,
question.
yes, excellent. Yes, I would be happy to. When I make the ask, I will also convey the question so that they can prepare, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, because I do have questions for them in terms of what do they do?
Good.
I mean, I would like kind of how.
Yeah, no,
you're
send
talking
them,
about
send them over.
transparency.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And I'm sorry, Jody, just one more thing, and I will pass it to you in a second. Dear committee members, I think that the board wants me to appoint a vice chair for this committee. I am opening to all of you, which I think it has to be appointed board members, which are Rashida, Robert, and Deb. What I can promise to you is that as long as we have the hybrid option and the Zoom recording, you will not be asked to write minutes. I will write them, but I'm just asking for sort of safety. Like if something happens, if I get a flat tire or whatever happens one day and I'm not here, so that one of you can sort of host and be the chair of the meeting. So please, anyone that is interested, please let me know. Robert, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, along Rashida's suggestion, that we get questions to you, because here's a question that's kind of cute. What are the regulations for disposing of washing machines and appliances on private property?
I know this.
And you know why I'm asking, okay? So just an innocent question right out there,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Camelia, I have to say that I would like to put off the question of vice chair. Are you going to be running for another office besides?
Yeah, Robert,
committee
but
chair?
honestly, I have to say, whether I'm the chair of this committee or not, the committee will still be the vice chair. But I want to answer your question, and the answer is yes, I will run for the treasurer position. But there's no guarantee at all that I will get it. Actually, I think there are more chances that I don't get it than I get it. So,
Well,
but either way, yeah.
Anyone needs to know that if you become vice chair and there's a vacant position, you become chair. So
Correct.
I think we should wait until the disposition of that election.
Okay. I just want,
And
yeah, I
we
agree.
just have to say that we love the job you're doing here.
Oh, you're so nice. I
And
know.
we don't want you to be treasurer. I'm not gonna be nice. I
So it's
don't
fine.
want you to
And
be
me-
treasurer.
And meanwhile,
It's so
we
funny.
could take- they could jump in if there's a big emergency, just call one of us. You have the phone numbers. If you don't, you should get the phone numbers.
Yeah, I understand, Karen, I understand, Robert, and this is very thoughtful of you, and I also appreciate just the
Yeah,
nice.
and I'm not being nice either
Positive.
because we need a committee at this juncture. We,
Yeah,
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 we
we're
have a lot of
already
work.
in
Okay,
charge.
okay, but
And that
it's
does
my
not
duty,
happen all the time.
dear people, it was my duty to put it out there, so I am putting it out there. Rashida, let me also say something that another member just told me. It's a perfect job for a person in their first year, because you just, how to say, you're just on standby. So I know you're a very, very smart person. I Googled you recently. So there are expectations there, but I'm just saying that, how to say, it's a person on standby sort of say. So whether I'm the chair of this or somebody else will be the chair, a person will always need to be like the backup sort of say to run a meeting maybe here and there. I'm just saying no more pressure. I'm moving to Jody, and I will also try to wrap this up. I will tell you Donna Sue by 8:30, which we are 4 minutes away. Jody, please take it over.
Okay, for sanitation, leaf collection, we have curbside compost, but they do leaf collection in other districts. That is November 27th. They still list our district as a leaf collection district. So ask them to bring 3 leaf bags for the community board to distribute to residents. And ask them if they will hold an event to distribute leaf bags to the community. They've shifted all their resources to Queens because everybody in Queens now has curbside. So ask them what resources and outreach are they going to do here in Bronx 8, because they've like kicked everybody out and sent them to Queens.
Yeah.
So
Jody
and
said this is my chair's report, but yes.
yes, and then I'm working on a new stormwater thing in Henry Hudson Park. So I've been experimenting.
All right.
And because I'm talking to strangers on the street and random people that I know, I actually am getting the plans of the stormwater system that was put into Henry Hudson Park in the 80s and 90s. So we could figure out where the water's going. So you will hear some updates on that from me.
Mhm. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Anything anyone wants to add before I will call for a motion to adjourn?
It's one thing on that note of what Jody just said. So
Mhm.
Karen, do you have the stormwater plan then for Fort Independence Park? Because they must have redone the sewer when they did the renovation in 2014.
No, they did not. They did
Really?
not. No.
Oh, but Deb,
And now that sewer's got to be a mess because it's got all those rocks in it.
Yes, it's gravel.
but Deb, the plans that I'm getting, he said that they did 7 parks all at once. So in the 80s and
Yeah,
90s.
but this is that park is different. I've been with her exploring. I'm one of her secret people. And
Yeah, everyone's secret person.
and they have like all these drains like all over the place, and you can actually look in and see them. They don't look like regular drains. They're just like, I knew there was something there. Plus I had heard like this rumor that they put drains there to put the water from the Henry Hudson Parkway in there. But I think they were putting the drains in so that the park didn't fill into the Henry Hudson Park, because it's higher than Henry Hudson Park. So they had to do it, otherwise the Henry Hudson Parkway was going to overflow. That's what but we'll find out when we see the drawings.
Yeah, we'll see.
Jody, do you want to add something? Your hand is still up. Please lower it for my peace of mind.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Again, to repeat, anyone that wants a question sent in advance to DSNY, which will be our featured set of speakers in November, please do send. I don't know if the mayor will extend this Zoom thing. I hope he does, and then we are again able to have this type of flexibility. If not, I'm afraid we will have to actually see each other in person. So we'll see how, you know. But I want to thank you all one more time for being so thoughtful and kind and respectful and like deep on all of these, and for again, I mean, I feel like we are doing here work that no other committee is doing at this level of sort of complexity. So
And
so
that's
just
why we need
all of
you. That's why we need you. Don't
need
leave
you.
us.
Do not, we're
Thanks.
telling you, we're telling you,
You're
we're
all
gonna
right?
be mad.
Anyways.
When you turn the Zoom recording off, then we're gonna talk to you. We need to talk to
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why do you think I came to the office, people? So I
Yeah,
can
no,
switch
so
to
thank you
more.
for moral support. Yeah, I also want to do a final.
Camelia, there's only one worse thing than making enemies of us. It's making friends. Now you've got us. Now you're stuck with us.
Too late. Thank you, thank you. I also want to do a very formal congratulations to Deb Travis for her appointment, for her election, actually.
For my
into the
dramatic election.
Yes, very dramatic. Also, just a fair warning to everyone, Riverdale Press has like 3 articles about us in CBA, some better than others. But hey, let's try to keep like cool and professional and committed, which is what I think we are all here to do. So if
Yeah.
somebody would help me and make
I
a
move to
motion
adjourn.
this
I move to
thing,
adjourn. Turn off that recording so we can talk.
No, a second to a, no, not yet.
Yeah,
not
I
yet,
know,
please,
I know.
okay. A second to adjournment motion.
I second it.
Thank you. And thank you so much. I see hands up, approved. I thank you all, and we are stopping recording. Everybody be well.
Stop recording.